Not yet. Let me try again. Oh, yep, I can see it now. So I'm just going to share this link. Oops. Share coffee link. Okay, so I'm going to post that. Okay, so I'm just going to make sure on Twitter. Yep, I see it, and I'm going to check my LinkedIn. Yep, I see it, and I'm going to check YouTube. Yeah, and it's live as well. All right. So with that, Aman, we are now live. Welcome to our live stream. We're going to talk about all things tax. HTJ.tax, offshore tax is our topic. So we do this for those seeing us for the first time. We do this every week. If you have a look at HTJ.tax, you will see what's coming up next week. But today we have the honor and privilege of speaking with Mr. Aman Tamus. So just as a quick kind of disclaimer, we may be talking about things that are legal and tax related, but we're not giving advice. So nothing here should be construed as advice. We're having a general conversation about general principles. If it is that you want someone to advise on your specific situation, you can reach out to a tax advisor if it's tax related, or you can reach out to Aman to talk about your options from an investment migration perspective. For those joining us on Zoom, this is being recorded, which means that if you do not want your image to be shown, you would need to keep your camera switched off. And without further ado, Amanda, please introduce yourself. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Darren. I appreciate it. And the honor is mine, to be quite honest, being in the presence of such professional and very well-established and experienced tax experts. I mean, the honor is mine. Little introduction. Armin Tanous, I'm Vice President for Apex Capital Partners, which is the global leader in the investment migration industry. Some of our viewers might ask, what is investment migration? Well, very simply said, it's a package of all of the immigrant investor programs available and offered by nations, by countries, right, such as in Canada, the US, and other European and Caribbean nations that offer immigrant investor programs. And so we've been in the business at Apex Capital Partners since 1991. So I could confidently say the first international firm that has worked with international clients in regards of investment migration products or immigrant investor programs, and being able to market these programs to the international scale, obviously. And we are the only, and I could proudly say this, we are the only fully licensed and government mandated firm in the industry, which means that all of the programs of which we offer to our clients as solutions for their temporary relocation or permanent relocation needs, we are the direct intermediaries between our clients and the governments. And so just like anything, when you discuss tax, you want to be discussing tax with a tax expert. When you discuss immigration, you want to be discussing immigration with an immigration expert and a licensed individual as well. So that's who we are, and that's what we do. And we've been doing it for a very long time. So I could easily say that I'm proud to working at Apex Capital and being their vice president for North America and LATAM. Maybe one thing that I can add is that on top of being able to help private clients in regards of immigrant investor programs, we also have a very, very, very well established government advisory arm, which means that we've helped governments structure, plan, and maintain citizenship by investment or residency by investment programs, so immigrant investor programs. And we've seen that, I mean, originally in 1989 to 1991 with Canada, our founder was part of the advisory board in regards of being able to create and maintain and structure the both investment and immigration planning for the Canadian residency by investment program or immigrant investor program. And we've done this in Anguilla with the residency by investment program in Anguilla, which is obviously a permanent residency or a tax residency, and as well as most recently Montenegro. So we are one of three large firms within the consortium that has helped the Montenegrin government create, structure, and maintain their and promote their citizenship by investment program.
Okay,
a lot of hard work and dedication.
So yeah, that is interesting because obviously we speak with people in the investment migration space quite often, but it is rare to speak with advisors who advise the government as opposed to just simply on the client side. So in terms of the jurisdictions or the destinations that you would be able to advise on, or not only you but your team. So yes. I'm guessing it will be the Caribbean. Where else?
So we're in all 5 jurisdictions in the Caribbean that offer citizenship by investment. So St. Kitts and Nevis, Antigua and Barbuda, Dominica, St. Lucia, and Grenada. And so we're government licensed and government mandated in all 5 jurisdictions. We are originally a Canadian company. And so we offer, through our registered consultants for immigration, we offer Canadian, obviously, immigrant investor program as well, such as the most recent one, the Canada Startup Visa, which is really interesting. We are in Montenegro. We provide assistance to our clients in Malta, in Portugal, in Greece, in Turkey. So we're almost every program that's out there and available for immigrant investors. We can assist our clients.
So definitely Europe, definitely Caribbean. Vanuatu?
No, we stay very far from Vanuatu.
Okay, all right. No Asia. So like no Australia, New Zealand.
No. We have partners that we work with, our trusted partners that we work with for like global talent programs in Australia. But besides that, no, we don't really have a direct connection or a licensing in those countries. So that's why we tend to not work with them directly.
Okay. Understood. No problem at all. Okay. So for those who are not joining, welcome. If you are with us on Zoom, you can just type your questions in the box below and we'll deal with them in the order in which we see them. Same with Facebook and the other platforms. I'll just have a look from time to time to see what is being commented on. But I'll go through the questions that were already submitted. And the first one, I guess, would be the UK. There have been some changes in the UK investment migration landscape. Could you comment on that, please?
Yeah, that was actually one of the, I would say, strategies of the last year in investment migration is that the Home Office decided to halt the UK Tier 1 investor visa, which was a very, very, very good program for all immigrant investors looking to, through their investment, be granted residency in the UK. Obviously through physical residency requirements when they're met and so on, and then a pathway to citizenship. And so that was a great program. It was one of the programs that was still open for the investors to be able to have a understanding and decision in regards of what type of investment can be made, right? Dealing with wealth management partners as well directly. So it was it was an open program. It was a very good program and granted, British citizenship ultimately, which is a great passport to have, right? So it's unfortunate that that program isn't with us anymore.
Okay, but yeah, it is unfortunate, and it means that we have a lot less to talk about because I know that for yourself and your team dealing with that high net worth individual, that was really the vehicle of choice for entering the UK. Not that there aren't other ways of doing it, but that was really the preferred option, wasn't it?
Yeah, because we're obviously focused on working on immigrant investor programs, right? Rather than your regular immigration um, pathways, let's say, that lead to
Exactly.
residency or citizenship.
Sure, sure.
Given the fact that we are mainly focusing on immigrant investor programs, that was really the only immigrant investor program that the UK had to offer. They obviously had other programs such as entrepreneur programs,
Hmm.
but for immigrant investor programs, the UK Tier 1 investor visa was the creme de la creme, we say.
Right. Okay. And if we can switch over to the other side of the Atlantic to
Yes.
Canada, do you want to just comment briefly on what are the main options for someone that higher net worth individual looking at Canada as an option?
Definitely. So there's always the immigrant investor program, which is a provincial immigrant investor program in Canada, based out of
Hmm.
the beautiful province that I'm currently in, Quebec. So it's
Hmm.
called the Quebec Immigrant Investor Program.
Hmm.
That program still exists, but it's currently halted. And
Hmm.
the only reason why it's halted is because there's a very big overflow of applications and
Yeah.
applicants to the program. So I mean,
Hmm.
they need to be able to handle and manage the inflow or the immigrant investor applications that have been sent out, right?
Hmm.
But we're looking at getting it back in April of 2023, hopefully.
Okay. So next
So
year.
that's one immigrant investor program, the best immigrant investor program, in my opinion, in
Hmm.
Canada.
Hmm.
That was originally in 1989, 1990, was the federal immigrant investor program. And then in the early 2000s, Quebec as a province decided to create that immigrant investor program as well to attract, ultra high net worth and high net worth individuals and, attract raise capital
Hmm.
within the province to be able to bring, very um, savvy investors or
Hmm.
entrepreneurs to the region. So that's one.
Hmm.
Currently, the program in Canada that's very exciting for, I would say, both immigrant investors and entrepreneurs, because most of
Hmm.
the time immigrant investors are entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so that being said, the amazing program that currently is, active and very much accepting applicants is the Canada Startup Visa program, which
Hmm.
is an innovative program, dedicated and focused on entrepreneurs coming to Canada,
Hmm.
creating jobs, bringing innovative ideas to Canada. If we can compare Canada to the rest of the world, it has a great R&D tax credit program. The
Hmm.
government provides great tax credits on research and development and innovation in Canada. So we could see that there's a lot of companies that have relocated to Canada or have opened up, sister companies in Canada to be able to conduct their research and development so that they could benefit from the benefits that the government grants them, right? And so Canada is a very innovative and entrepreneurial country, open to entrepreneurs, and this is why the Canada Startup Visa is now the next big thing for
Hmm.
Canada.
Gotcha. So in terms of demographic, I know that both the programs are, in a state of transition right now, but just generally speaking, what is the difference in terms of the demographic of the individual or the family that wants to move to the UK versus the one that wants to move to Canada?
So that's a very good question, actually, Darren. One thing that I've seen in my career in the investment migration industry is that a lot of immigrant investors from, let's say, I would say, the Middle East, India, Pakistan, even in Asia, further down in East Asia, what they do is that they see the UK, Canada, and the US as the best countries, right, for immigration purposes. So when they think about permanent relocation, they think of, I'm gonna move to the UK, or I'm gonna move to Canada, or to the US, and they see this as a multi-generational permanent relocation strategy, right? So they take into consideration children, grandchildren's education, retirement, healthcare, opportunity. So that being said, I would say that the demographics for both nations, Canada and the UK, are similar. The only thing that would differentiate is the fact that UK is normally closer to those areas of the world, right? To those countries. So sometimes it's easier for these individuals or families to make the decision, okay, let's just go to the UK. And so that's why we see very large communities, Asian communities in the UK specifically, right? And because Canada is much further away, we need to cross the Atlantic. It's more of a hassle when time comes for permanent relocation, right? And there's a lot more thought that has to be put into it when making this leap towards coming to Canada. But to be quite honest, living in Canada, being in Canada myself, I've seen that a lot of those, immigrants have been coming to Canada. The communities have been growing, and there's a lot of they're running the economy in a way, because it's bringing they're benefiting from the country and the country's stability, both politically, economically, but they're also bringing them a labor workforce. I mean, to the country, and feeding the economy, right? With their thriving nature and their excitement to work and to come and to add value to the country, right? So that's one thing that I could say for both.
And I guess one of the takeaways, even though we've just briefly discussed two jurisdictions, is the fact that rules change, right? It's quite a dynamic landscape, in that the immigration rules are a moving target. They keep changing, and as a result, a jurisdiction that may be available and popular at one point in time may not be so, just a few weeks, a few months later, right? So having said that, right now, I know right now this is being recorded in March 2022. Like, what is the top 3 most popular jurisdictions for you and your clients right now, just at this point in time, which of course it can change?
Yeah. So depending on the needs of our clients, we have clients that look for immediate acquisition of citizenship through that investment. So for that, I would say that St. Kitts and Nevis is today being the most established citizenship by investment program in the world, 1984, where it started. It is very highly in demand, and I would say that it was and will always be the best citizenship by investment program. Besides that, what I've seen in the last, I would say, 2 to 3 years, in regard of a trend and an increase of inquiries towards, is Portugal. Portugal's Golden Visa is an incredible program. It's attracted a lot of immigrant investors to Portugal. And this is something that you could obviously comment on as a tax expert. Portugal's tax regime is very attractive as well. So a lot of individuals look to have, when they consider immigrant investor programs, or citizenship by investment or residency by investment programs, like I say, for Portugal being a residency by investment program, they take into consideration not only permanent relocation, because that's sometimes hard for ultra high net worth individuals to permanently relocate, because they have businesses, they have an established lifestyle in their home country, so they can't just throw everything away and just relocate. And that's what we see a lot with immigrant investors, is that they can't just leave everything behind and relocate. So And Portugal makes it very simple for and attractive for the individuals that are not looking to, physically reside in Portugal for 6 months plus 1 day out of the year to be considered residents, right? And so it makes it really interesting and really beneficial for these immigrant investors to, or ultra net worth individuals and families to even consider Portugal as an option because of its accommodating, I would say, structure, right, as a program. And maybe, I mean, you can comment on the tax benefit. It's a very attractive tax regime with the non-habitual tax residency program there, and so on. It makes it really interesting for individuals that are looking at a tax residency, even for a change of a tax residency, to consider Portugal as their destination of choice. So St. Kitts, Portugal, and Europe. And to be quite honest, we're looking for a huge trend towards Canada with the Canada Startup Visa. So we see a lot of entrepreneurs looking into coming into Canada through the Canada Startup Visa. And, whoever comes to Canada is thinking about, okay, at some point in my life, I'm going to permanently relocate to Canada, because that's what's the best strategy multi-generationally. If I look into healthcare, education, and retirement. So that as well. But I would say very, very confidently, St. Kitts and Portugal have been two great and very, very increased in demand programs.
Yeah. People, from a tax perspective, there's this misconception that it's all about chasing low tax or no tax, when it's actually the opposite, right? Some of the more popular jurisdictions in the world that people of means that they want to move to are actually relatively high tax jurisdictions, because I don't think anyone would ever say Canada is low tax. I mean, there are certain incentives if you're an entrepreneur, but it is, relatively speaking, a higher tax jurisdiction,
Higher tax comes with added benefits, right? I mean,
exactly.
You don't pay tax for no reason. You pay tax because you have free healthcare. You pay tax because you have almost tuition-free education in highly ranked universities. You pay tax because you have the safety, the security of the country. So, yes, tax is high in Canada, but I mean, there's a reason for that.
I tell clients, look at it like an investment, and you get a return on the investment once it's well calculated and there's some strategy.
Of course.
But yeah. Unfortunately, in terms of the Caribbean, we obviously, our team, we don't get involved in migration. We leave it to experts like yourself, but people do consult us when they're considering like Caribbean. There's a misconception that just getting a Caribbean passport will somehow save you taxes, but I think we help them understand that that's not necessarily the case, because your tax is really also a function not just of your residency or citizenship, but where you physically are. Where's your family? Where's your center of vital interest? Where's your center of life? And where's your business and where are your investments? Because that tends to drive it more often than not. Portugal, we get because we have an office in Portugal, so we do get a number of inquiries from a tax planning and tax strategy, tax optimization perspective, particularly from Americans. The NHR, I mean, the Caribbean, relatively speaking, is straightforward. It's territorial tax. So once you're not earning money from within, generally speaking, you're not going to be subject to tax, generally speaking.
Exactly.
Whereas Portugal is a bit more nuanced than that. The NHR means that particularly our clients who have a portfolio, an investment portfolio, and they have securities income, that is subject to taxes under the NHR. So it'll be taxed at 28%. So that kind of hits people as a surprise, because they think that, it's probably in their mind, I guess they look at other European programs like in Ireland or the UK, where there's a res non-dom. So basically all your income outside is sheltered, but not necessarily so with Portugal. So your retirement income, so if you have a private pension plan, that's going to be taxed at 10%, securities at 28%. But with some planning, because there's an opportunity to structure with some planning, it can work to your advantage. You can mitigate it, probably not eliminate it completely, but there are ways of tax mitigation. So, okay, so from a Caribbean perspective, you said St. Kitts. Is St. Kitts, is it because it was the first? How does St. Kitts compare to the other four, just generally?
So generally what we do when we compare citizenship by investment programs is we look at two very important points. The first one is obviously because it's a citizenship by investment, so you get immediate citizenship and passport. We look at what you can do in regards of global mobility freedom with the citizenship or the passport itself. So St. Kitts offers the most visa-free destinations, access to the most visa-free destinations with its passport. In addition to that, because it's been operating for such a long time and it's a very well established program, the process in which the applicants go through, it's very straightforward and seamless, right? And so it makes it really interesting for the applicants because, you know, the CIU, the Citizenship by Investment Unit, that's in charge of the program, is you know, mature and has been doing this for a very long time. So they know there's a process, the timelines are met, everything is really straightforward and simple. And that's what's important. You know, when you come and invest $150, $200, $250,000 in a citizenship by investment program, you know, as an investor, you normally say, okay, if I'm investing this much money into a program or into this, you know, opportunity for me to get the citizenship, you know, I want it to be done quite fast and seamless. You know, I want it to be smooth. I don't want it to create more chaos, because normally I'm doing this so that I could minimize the headaches that I have in regards of travel, let's say, for example, or in regards of additional private client services that normally clients request. And so the last thing we want is for the actual process of the application to be, you know, not hassle-free. So that's why I say St. Kitts compared to the others. I mean, don't get me wrong, the other programs are in regards of process are good, established, and very seamless as well, seamless and simple. But St. Kitts is the golden trophy program of the Caribbean, to be quite honest.
Okay. I remember before COVID when we would be speaking to quite a few Asian clients because of the base that we have in Singapore, who were looking at the Caribbean. They were drawn to the Grenada passport because you get the e-visa route into the US and
the E2 visa, correct?
Right, and then visa free into China as well. So that
correct,
that's attractive. But you're not seeing Grenada so much as before. Is that your perspective, or?
No, not necessarily. The only thing is that obviously every program is different, and so when we look at St. Kitts, we look at a very perfectly packaged program, okay, in all aspects. When we look at other programs such as Dominica and St. Lucia, we look at a cost-effective program because they are less expensive in regards of the government fund donation, right? In regards of Grenada, we look at a program that's also very good, but that gives the investors access to the E2 visa for the US. It's not everyone that is looking to then further invest into the E2 visa and have access to permanently relocate to the US. So that's why it's not a program that we can say is the holistic approach to the perfect citizenship by investment plan, because it's not everyone that looks for that. But for the client that we speak to that is really focused on relocating to the US and you know, opening a business and being entrepreneurial and setting foot in the US and moving forward and living the American dream. Obviously, if we want to look at them getting a citizenship prior to doing so, E2 for Grenada. Montenegro, which is our baby, I would say, also has an E2 treaty with the US. So with the Montenegrin passport, you have access to moving to the US under the E2 visa, which is really interesting as well. Yeah.
Okay. And how does the Montenegro program sit price-wise compared to Grenada?
So it's obviously more expensive. Montenegro being, a Balkan state for now, it's expected to enter the EU in 2025. So whoever the idea of Montenegro is that if you're investing to get a Montenegrin passport, is because you're ultimately looking at getting an EU passport at some point. So it's an investment that you're making in it, knowing that my Montenegrin passport is going to be a EU passport as well once Montenegro enters the EU, right? And so cost-wise, I would say you have the option of going through. You have to make a real estate investment plus obviously a donation to the government. That's the structure. On top of all the other fees, obviously, like government fees and due diligence fees and so on. But generally speaking, the real estate you can invest is 250,000 euros when it's in the north of Montenegro. So like the mountain region, which is more catered to your ski resort type, tourism. And then you have south of Montenegro on the coastline, which is, where it's more established already and there's more life and there's more investments, because prior to the citizenship by investment program, there has been a lot of investments in Montenegro from the Americans that have invested in Montenegro, to the Chinese, to the Russians, to the Gulf states that have all come to Montenegro and invested, because it's a, very, very, in French we say bijou. It's a jewel in the Balkan state, within the Balkan states, with Eastern Europe, and so a lot of investments have been made there. And if you ever have the opportunity to visit Montenegro, if anyone that's viewing this has the opportunity to visit Montenegro, they'll see that it's beautiful. I would call it the Petit Monaco, Petit Monte Carlo.
Okay.
So it's a great place, and it's on the road to, it's in the right direction to entering the EU, and it's a perfect opportunity for individuals to get access to EU citizenship at a very low cost.
Okay, that's great. So before we actually went live, you were talking a bit about your typical clients from Latin America. Could you comment on what's your typical client in terms of demographic and geography, country of origin?
Yeah. So I might add something to this. Immigrant investor, or the investment migration industry, was mainly catered to the emerging nations, right? To the ultra high net worth of the emerging nations. And the reason why is because these individuals needed a plan, a strategy to be able to access to, travel, to have mobility freedom, So for them, it was a plan B, which, it was always presented as a plan B, but it was used as a plan A because it was probably the most important thing for them to be able to expand their business, grant access to their children to education, and so forth and so on. But in the last, I would say, 24 to 36 months, we've seen that trend reverse. So the emerging nations still are a great, very big market for investment migration. But we've seen nations like Canada, the US, which are not necessarily considered emerging nations, first world nations, that are looking into this, and it's that are looking into immigrant investor programs or citizenship and residency by investment planning as a proper plan B, both for mobility. Just like an example, for during the pandemic, for the longest time, US passport holders weren't able to enter the EU, right? And so imagine I'm a ultra high net worth patriarch, or a family office patriarch, and I have my properties in Italy or south of France or London or Paris or whatever it is, or even Portugal, and I'm used to going to my properties once, twice, three, four times, or on a monthly basis, and I can't do that because the only passport I have is a U.S. passport, right? And so a lot of clients originally looked into getting a citizenship for travel freedom, and then it turned into a proper plan B. It's an alternative asset. Citizenship and residency by investment is and has become a very integral and important part of estate and legacy planning. When you're estate planning or legacy planning, you need to, and if you don't, then I suggest you start doing, but you need to think about citizenship and residency by investment planning. It's very crucial because you never know what can happen, and you never know when you need that second passport or when you need that residency somewhere else for you to be able to quickly pack up and trigger that insurance, shall I say. In a way, it acts like an insurance, right? And so that's that's what we see and that's why we've seen a huge trend on my end from Canada, the US, and in Latin America. Obviously, it's countries where there's a lot of ultra net worth and there's a lot of new wealth being created in Latin America, and all of this wealth, it needs security. It's as much as LATAM, I could to a certain level say that there is somewhat stability, but at the same time there is a lot of instability because you never know, right, what can happen. For example, Venezuela. There's a lot of high net worths and ultra high net worths in Venezuela that if they didn't have a proper citizenship by investment plan, they're probably stuck right now. Or just take, for example, LATAM is directly linked to Miami as a financial hub, Miami being a financial hub. So individuals that need an alternative, that need a plan B, whether it's for banking, like moving assets outside of their home country, for security, or for expansion of business or investments, or having alternative assets and investments. Now they need to do that and they've been needing to do that for their citizenship or their residency. So that's where we see the trend going, I believe.
That's a great point. That traditionally, the investment migration space has targeted the emerging markets, right? It was seen as a hedge. It was seen as an education play. It was because of the hassle of applying for visas every time you needed to go from point A to point B, of getting just a stronger travel document to get business done. I remember seeing an interview with Dangote, the wealthiest person in Africa, Nigeria, and he says Dangote, he has 8 passports, right? Because he lives in Nigeria, but just the hassle of traveling on the Nigerian passport means that he collected 7 other passports just to make it easier to get his business done, right? So that was traditional, right? Now we've really seen that inversion that you've spoken about, that it has become an asset class on its own for people from developed markets, not just from developing markets. And we saw that, as you said, during the height of the health crisis, people being blocked from moving around, and that had severe consequences for not just personal but for business reasons. And just having that portfolio of not necessarily passports but residences, because at any point in time, like in Portugal, even though borders were closed, if you were a Portugal resident, you will be allowed in. And to a large extent with the UK as well. I mean, borders might be closed, but still, and so on and so forth. Same with the US. So yeah, it's definitely turned on its head, and it's something that everyone is taking seriously right now. And for us, we will obviously being we're in international tax space, but US international in particular, the flow of inquiries in terms of help with tax planning to enter the US
Mhm.
We saw a spike during the health crisis, and now we're seeing that demand pick up from the US to look at Portugal and Spain. I literally get dozens of emails every day via website for people who want to help, who need help from the US, tax planning for Portugal, or they want a comparison, Portugal versus Spain. Could you model my portfolio if I end up in Portugal, if I end up in Spain? I need to have that comparison. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, but having said that, the investment migration space, unfortunately, has been tarnished. Yes, there have been bad actors on different fronts, but still, there has been a trend to paint it, unfortunately, in a negative light. And we've seen the EU in particular, uh, generally speaking, not being in favor of it. So given those, those sentiments from certain governments, and especially in the developed world, not in the emerging markets, but in the developed world, what do you see to be the outcome? Where are trends heading?
I think that one very important thing is that investment migration, or the industry itself, or citizenship by investment or residency by investment programs,
Yeah.
have to have a very good and strong regulatory body
Mm.
that would be, once we're able to put the top firms in the industry together and create a regulatory body which is not based or biased by someone's, I don't know, creativity, let's say, for
Yeah.
example,
Mhm.
and the only purpose is to be able to properly regulate and help governments properly structure and maintain their programs, so that everything is very straightforward, due diligence is perfect, and there's no reason for the European Parliament, Commission, or anyone else to come and say, oh, we do not want to give citizenship by investment programs or have citizenship by investment programs in our union because of this, then,
Mhm.
then we'll be able to come back and fight against the parliament, be like, no, our
Mhm.
regulatory body is here for one reason, and that reason is to be able to, regulate the countries, and not necessarily the countries, apologies, but the firms that offer these programs, or that advise governments in regards of creating programs. And so that's what's very important. And I think that's what's lacking in the industries, is to have that, mutual
Mhm.
regulatory, like a mutual sense of everyone, or the top players being able to, help regulate the industry.
Hmm. I wish I shared your sentiment, because it's, of course, a very positive sentiment from my perspective. And again, as an outsider looking in, so I mean, I'm not an investment migration expert, but I just look at it historically, like let's say the past couple hundred years. There was a time, and if you were in the 1800s, you could go to the US. And if you came across from Europe, maybe you didn't even need a travel document. You just tell them what your name is when
Yeah.
you arrive at Ellis Island, and they give you a rudimentary health check and welcome to America. And over time, there became a need for some sort of identification. Then you needed a passport, and then there was a visa system, and the visa system, to a large extent, has been thrown out with recent developments, understandably so. But it's put the traditional visa system under strain, and now it's to your advantage if you do need to move between certain jurisdictions to get residency. So at least you're sure to get in. So I see, just generally, the movement of human capital being put under greater regulation, if you look at it in the past 150 years. And then when you add to that the noise that's coming from decision makers at the EU level, which, the EU is one of the more attractive jurisdictions for those who would want a more powerful travel document.
Mhm.
And it's clear that they're against it. And, we saw what happened to Cyprus. We know the pressure that Malta is under. And even domestically in Portugal, it's brought, I mean, it's bringing a lot of talent, it's bringing a lot of resources into Portugal, but there are concerns that it does do certain things to the real estate market, that locals feel disadvantaged, they feel priced out, and there is some pushback. So, and we've seen that result in changes in the golden visa program in Portugal. So
Of course.
Porto and Lisbon are no longer, maybe not so much Algarve. You need to go inland to less attractive areas. So I see that as all part of a trend, and I wonder if, to some extent, the days of investment migration may be numbered in terms of citizenship. Maybe residency, absolutely, you can get residency, but in terms of a definite pathway to citizenship without a residence requirement, which is what the visa does, the golden visa does offer, as opposed to the UK. So in the UK, there's a residency requirement.
Of course.
So I think, the EU, the US, the North Americans, they feel more comfortable with that. We have no problem where people of means can enter and they can enjoy those benefits, but there should be a residency requirement. So those are my thoughts. I think that the whole golden visa principle, where someone can just hang out for like a month per year, or like in Malta with a year and a half, they get a passport. I think those days may be numbered. Yeah,
I think what they want to do is they want to remove that golden term to the programs. And look, I'm not against adding physical residency to such programs, so that there could be justification for why someone would be granted citizenship or granted residency. I'm not against that whatsoever, but I believe that we need to, and the reason why nations such as Portugal have benefited from the golden visa program is because they've brought in millions and even maybe billions of euros over the span of the life of the program, which in return benefited the economy of the country, and in return benefited the locals, and in return, everyone was taking advantage of it, of the fact that the country was generating so much revenue from these programs. One thing is for sure is that we need to put a line in between traditional immigration programs and immigrant investor programs. Just like we put a line and separate refugee programs that are considered immigration programs and immigrant entrepreneur programs. At the end of the day, both the refugee and the entrepreneur are looking to get this citizenship, but there's a reason, and there is a reason why we differentiate these two paths that are ultimately to the same goal. Is because the current circumstance of the individuals that are applying, or the applicant, shall we say, are completely different. And that's when I believe that when we're able to draw that line between traditional immigration and immigrant investor or immigrant entrepreneurship programs that are obviously such as immigrant investor programs, when we're able to clearly draw that line and be able to accept that there is two types of immigration, then we're able to, as countries, as unions such as the EU, understand the benefit of each route. We can't just say, oh, no more immigrant investor programs, no more citizenship by investment, no more residency by investment. We're going to stick to even the immigrant investor and the individual that's bringing capital, and the country is raising foreign direct investment or foreign direct capital, and bringing the investor is bringing capital to the country. No, they need to physically reside there. There's a reason, and we need to be able to differentiate physical residency requirement or the program, so that we can understand and appreciate each route. That's the thing, is that we're not, I speak for the EU, sorry, I don't speak for the EU Commission. I speak for myself on the basis of my comments towards that, and I feel like they don't appreciate immigrant investor programs, and this is why they're they're against it in a way, in regards of having citizenship by investment programs or residency by investment programs in the EU that obviously are pathway to citizenship with minimal physical residency, because they're not able to really draw that line and separate. It's immigration, but there's a difference between one type versus the other, and we can't always wait for a world crisis to happen for us as a country, for a country to accept immigrants.
Exactly.
That would be unfortunate. So once that line is drawn, then I think that there would be no issues in regards of maintaining these programs and the industry.
Yeah,
I hope they're not numbered. I hope they're not.
Yeah.
I hope the days are not numbered.
Well, I mean, I guess, we can touch base in a year and we keep in touch and see how it goes. But at this point, that's my sense that, yes, there's no problem with investment migration because everybody practices it, everybody does it. The issue is where there is citizenship without residency. And, and I see some of the Caribbean islands as well. Sometimes some of the OECD nations do kind of give them the look when, about their programs. And then there's always the subtle threat of removing visa-free access to country X, country Y. So, but that's happening. But then when I look at it in the context of the offshore space in general, because in the whole offshore world is not just about citizenship and residency. There's also banking. There are also corporate structures. And yeah, I mean, a couple of decades ago, absolutely, you can set up a bank account anywhere you like, more or less. So you can incorporate wherever you want, more or less. But suddenly, you can incorporate, but now there are rules around economic substance. You just can't set up shell companies anywhere and everywhere like you used to. You need to have actual boots on the ground. It needs to be a meaningful business reason, not just a tax planning opportunity. And I think that is, in any country that's not practicing that right now, any jurisdiction, they're probably on the blacklist. They're one of those. And then similarly with the banking space, a couple of decades ago, maybe even just a decade ago, you can set up a bank account anywhere, But now, again, banks are so hard to deal with. Even if you live if it's your hometown bank, they're giving you a hard time to set up a bank account, even though you've been with this bank for generations. Far less if you want to set up an account in another jurisdiction. The AML, the anti-money laundering, the KYC, your customer, or the general onboarding process is now pretty rigorous. It basically is like a job interview. And they want to see whether, they want to do business with you. And it definitely is not as easy as it once was to set up a bank account or a company where you really don't have any residence. And even if you have residence, it's a problem. So I think we're in the era of transparency, and, there's exchange of information, and there's data exchanges between jurisdictions, and the sort of privacy and the leniency that we saw in the past seem to be definitely there in the past. So I see the whole offshore world evolving, of which, of course, the investment migrations piece is an important and integral part. But I think there's indeed a general shift. But I think we're coming up to an hour now. So any final comments or any final perspectives that you want to share with people who are online right now or who may be listening to this in the future?
What I want to share is that, immigrant investor or the investment migration industry is an industry that has been, in the past, I would say, only available to the ultra high net worth, right? Today, we've seen that with the changes of the governments and the investment budgets and the access to wealth creation to everyone, right? We've seen a very important change in that, is that today it's not only the elite of our world that have access to investment migration, but it's everyone that has access to it. Okay, and if you need it, it's there, it's available. And so investment migration is a tool that could be used for whether it's tax planning, whether it's mobility planning, whether it's mobility insurance, which is very important. And everyone that has that or needs that sense of security at some point, whether it's for their personal security, including family, obviously, asset security, such as asset protection and wealth preservation, they need to consider citizenship by investment and residency by investment. And I think that hand in hand with proper tax planning, it could be the perfect holistic solution to checking all of those boxes that have to be checked for someone to be, protect their assets, preserve their wealth, as well as create a sense of security and have access to the world, become global citizens. And so that's what's very important.
Amani,
and I hope our industry is good. I hope, and I'm confident that we can speak in 5 years from now and we're still going to be here. I hope so.
Fantastic, Amani. And if someone wants to reach out to you to discuss that having that plan B, having that security, that education play for the kids, global mobility, what's the best way to reach you?
They could always reach me at my email. It's ATANNOUS@apexcap.org. Or they could WhatsApp me +1 786 742 4508. Or they can just go on our website, apexcapital.partners, and submit an inquiry, and I'll have myself or someone from my team reach out immediately and be able to assist.
Okay, so that's apexcapital.partners.
Correct.
All right, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a privilege. I enjoyed hearing, getting your perspective, benefiting from your years of experience in this investment migration space, and hopefully everyone that listens to you will, be better off for it. And if they have not, created that plan B, they would understand why it is super important to have that plan B in place. Even if you just have it, keep it in your back pocket. It's better to have it and don't need it than to need it and don't have it.
Exactly. I always say it's better to be proactive than reactive.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So good day, good evening, good morning to everyone, depending on what part of the world you're in. We're htj.tax, and if you have a look at our website, htj.tax/events, you can see what we're going to be talking about and who we're going to be interviewing next week. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Stop recording. And I'm going to turn off